Let's get this sports podcast party started, all right?
The JAYREELZ podcast.
Why don't you wait until July 1st to make an announcement? What a disgrace. He can rack up all these numbers in October, November, and December, but what really counts is let me see this in January.
The sports rebel without a pause, delivering fast-paced, jam-packed sports talk like no other.
Listen, I got to call it as I see it. He is not a good player. I'm sick and tired of having to deal with the disappointment of this franchise. When does it stop? And yes, another winter that I can sleep in peace. Coming correct, direct, and in full effect. Let's get it.
This is the JAYREELZ podcast. Welcome aboard.
What is happening, my good people? Greetings. How are you? How's it going? How's everybody doing out there? What is the latest and greatest? Hope everybody's doing well, feeling fantastic and excellent spirits as we go through the sports landscape with a lot cooking, a lot going on, and here to dissect it and present it to you all on a silver platter, none other than yours truly, as this is the JAYREELZ podcast with yours, JAYREELZ. For my first timers, welcome aboard. And for those who've been banging with me going back to the very beginning, somewhere in the middle of even, as early as this past Monday, I welcome you guys and gals back as we get cooking here, where we're going to start off a little bit different. I'm sure people are wondering, am I going to start off with the baseball as it continues to stay hot? Am I going to get into the NBA, the final few days of the regular season, last week in the NHL, not last week as 7 days ago, but this is the last week forthcoming, and Michigan winning a national championship? No, I'm going to start off as I break out the golf clubs, get to the tee box, take a big swing, because the tradition, unlike any other, is what's going to tee us off here, where the Masters down in Augusta, the azaleas blooming, again, the tradition, unlike any other, begins and has begun. It's already underway today as the golf season is ushered in for 2026. And what I mean by golf season, yes, there's been plenty of tournaments, Bay Hill, the Waste Management Open out in Phoenix, the LA Open, Valero. I understand that. But when it comes to the majors, this is the granddaddy of them all. This is the Super Bowl of golf, the Wimbledon of golf. You want to look at it from, you can think of its counterpart, tennis, from a standpoint of their four majors, as well as golf's four majors. And it starts a stretch of golf that over the next 4 months, you're going to have all these tournaments, whether it be the PGA next month, the U.S. Open in June, and then the Open Championship, which is formerly known as the British Open, in July. And as I see people in the comments, I'll get to your comments afterwards. Salima, hello. I appreciate you hopping on board. But when we take a look at this landscape before I get to the tournament, it's just a shame that the golf season begins today, and in essence, it's going to end, when you think about it, a little over 3 months from now. And yeah, there'll be a few tournaments after that, and technically the golf season doesn't end until you get to pretty much right before the holiday season. But with the Masters, as great as it is, and we look forward to watching it, especially if we're going to be indoors, it's going to be nice here in the Northeast, so I'm going to try to watch as much as I can throughout the course of the next 4 days. But it doesn't pack a punch, the golf season, because when you had the PGA next month, when it used to be in August, and I'll never forget when they moved it up maybe 8-9 years ago, I actually thought it was a great idea, because you have that in succession to where you're able to get a major every month over the course of a 4-month period, really 3 months when you think about it, but it's 4 because you got April, May, June, July. But by the time you get to pretty much the All-Star break in baseball, or right soon thereafter, the golf season's done. Where prior to that, you had the PGA in August. And let's face it, the PGA out of the four majors is the least of the four. You're starting off with the Masters. That, like I said, by far number one. Number two, you could argue whether or not the Open Championship, because please, you're talking about overseas, UK, Ireland, St. Andrews. I mean, going back 400 years. But The U.S. Open, obviously, that is enormous here in this country when it comes to a golf tournament. So you want to say that that's 2 and 2A, whether you want to put the Open Championship before the U.S. Open or vice versa, have at it. And the PGA, although a major tournament, but it definitely doesn't compare to the other 3. And because you have it just next month, you don't have that, I want to say, breathing room. Because once you're done with the Masters here, and I understand you have technically a month before you get to the next tournament, but you blink an eye, you're in the middle of the NBA playoffs and the Stanley Cup playoffs, and oh, by the way, here's the PGA. You're like, oh, okay, great. And then you get past Father's Day, where you're already 3 tournaments in, where, think about it, the tennis season, which started in January, you'll have the French Open at the end of next month into June, and by the time you get to Father's Day, you're going to have 3 of the 4 already in, where, granted, a few weeks after, you're going to have Wimbledon, but tennis is just getting warmed up, where golf is pretty much on the trajectory going down of, all right, well, we're 3/4 into the golf season when it comes to majors, and all we have left is the Open Championship in the middle of July, and then sayonara, we'll see you next April down in Augusta. I bring this up because the golf season goes by like that. But it starts today. Now to bring some positive, to bring some energy in that regard. And with the Masters, this is one, just a little, not even preview, some storylines. I think this one is wide open. And I know that you could look at the guys out there that are going to be at the forefront that we would think come Sunday are going to be at the top of the leaderboard. That being among the likes of Rory McIlroy, who won last year. And I'll get to Rory in a minute. Justin Rose, who was the runner-up last year. We know about Bryson DeChambeau. We know about Scotty Scheffler. Of course, Xander Schauffele. Guys that usually are at the top of the leaderboard come Sunday. The Ludwig Ockbergs, the Cameron Youngs, the Tommy Fleetwoods, the Lee Westwoods, guys like that always are in the mix. And if for whatever reason they fall apart, those guys that we would expect to see, yeah, we could probably see them there. But then on the flip side of that, there are a bunch of other golfers that we would think, the Colin Morikawas, the Hideki Matsuyamas, I would say Bubba Watson. He's won the thing twice, but, I mean, are you going to really expect him to be there? Probably not. Patrick Reed, when you look at from the live standpoint, whether it's DeChambeau, whether it's Cam Smith, that's another one I mentioned, Cameron Young. John Rahm, he's another one you can't forget. All these guys certainly have the capability of being there on Sunday, back 9, top 2 or 3, hopefully within a stroke or 2, and having the drama that we saw unfold last year between Rory McIlroy and Justin Rose, where Rory finally won his career Grand Slam in winning the Masters there on that playoff. So you can look at all these golfers. We know the golf course. Some years it could bring the players to their knees depending on the weather. The weather is going to be impeccable down Augusta. You don't have to worry about rainy days. You don't have to worry about players making up holes on the following. I believe 2 years ago, wasn't it Bryson No, maybe it was Brooks Koepka. I think it was Koepka who was in the mix there at the top of the leaderboard, but he had to play, if I'm not mistaken, one day he had to play 27 holes because there was so much rain there down in Augusta. Where this time around, I believe the high today is 71 degrees, sunny. Tomorrow's going to be 77 and sunny. And Saturday, Sunday, try 83 and sunny. So you're not going to have any elements. You're not going to have any of the effects from whether wind, rain, no matter what. That's not going to be a part of it, at least as of right now. And it looks like Mother Nature is going to cooperate throughout the 4 days. And you're going to have, you would think, a crisp, clean tournament to the point where these players, I could see somebody being maybe 15 under when it's all said and done. Because we have had Masters where players who had won the tournament have been well into the double digits for the tournament. Now, as far as the competition, as I just detailed and mentioned, and who do you expect to be there? And you want to even throw some dark horses in there as well. I know you have a couple of the young upstarts. The one kid, what's his name? Jacob. His name will come. Maybe I should look him up too. You have two guys. Jacob Bridgman, that's who it was. And Chris Gotterup. Those are two guys that could stake their claim here as being a guy that's going to come up the ranks. Remember a few years ago, Will Zalatoris, who was near the top of the leaderboard. I think that was in 2022. Maybe it was 23, and had a phenomenal entrance into the Masters. So when you look at Bridgman or even Goddard for that matter, those are two guys to be on the lookout to see whether or not that they're going to make any hay over the weekend to be near the top of the leaderboard. But I would think when it's all said and done, as Rory coming in as a defending champ, and I know this is pretty much a victory lap for him. Granted, it's 1 days later or 62 days later to where he finally got that Masters green jacket on him. And with the Champions Dinner highlighted by the menu to his liking, being from Northern Ireland, having whatever it was, the spread there for all the champions, if I don't know if you're aware, who win the Masters, they have their own dinner prior to the start. So whomever has a green jacket, and that even goes back to the old folks, whether you're Jack Nicklaus, obviously he's no longer around, Arnold Palmer, but you're looking at guys like Sergio Garcia and Jose Alazabal and Charles Schwartzel, all the players who have won this tournament. And for Rory to get all the pats on the back and the accolades and the congratulations that you would think he would go into this tournament as a heavy favorite, knowing that he hasn't played well at the start of this golf season with the other aforementioned tournaments I detailed a little while ago. But I don't know if he's going to have a big tournament. And yeah, I understand there's no pressure. He could be loosey-goosey. And would I be surprised if he's in the mix there come Sunday afternoon? I wouldn't, but I don't think he will. The one guy that I'm looking at here, and there could be some controversy that surrounds this particular player, is the one Bryson DeChambeau. And DeChambeau, who's using a 5-iron that was made by a 3D printer. Now, I don't know how effective or how useful that's going to be throughout the course of these next 4 days. And DeChambeau, who last year, remember, he was in the final round after the fourth hole. He was within striking distance of catching Rory and then fell apart there before the end of the front nine. So I'm sure that's been playing in his memory throughout the course of this past year, knowing that he wants to get back to that same scenario that he was last year. And for DeChambeau, who's going to use this 5-iron to his own accord, knowing that he's a guy who could hit it 9 miles off the tee and has a power game that I'm not going to say is unlike anybody we've ever seen, but certainly when you look at guys in this tournament, there's very few that could grip it and rip it like Bryson DeChambeau. And I'm not a fan of his. I like him as a golfer. I know he's kind of tamed his personality a little bit over the last few years because he was a little bit brash, and to me, it was a little bit too arrogant for my liking. But because he's kind of come back to earth and he's been a little bit more approachable and has put his personality and stuff out there, whether it be on social media or being in videos with Tom Brady hitting off a tee or videos with Matthew Stafford, he's become a lot more likable. And I think DeChambeau could be setting himself up for a big weekend. And we know he's won U.S. Opens. We know he's a guy that no matter what the golf course, no matter what the tournament, he's always going to be one of those guys that is a threat to win a Grand Slam tournament. And I understand I may not be going out on a limb, but I'm picking him to win this thing because I'm not going to come out and sit here and say, oh, I think it's time. Oh, I think it's this or whatever. But at the same time, as Kevin makes his comment here, all right, I don't know if I should take that as a compliment. This is here on the live chat, which I'll get to a lot of the questions and a lot of the comments there in the next hour for those who are watching on YouTube as I speak. But if there's going to be a player that we could look out for, maybe a guy like Shane Lowry, Xander Schauffele, who always seems to be a guy that is near the top or at the top of the leaderboard. Of course, Scotty Scheffler. You wonder about him a little bit because he just recently had another baby, has not played well this year, has gotten off to slow starts in tournaments, but then has been able to turn it around, but will fall short. Scheffler, in the last 2 years, he's won a ton of tournaments, will go into the Masters flying high. But for me, I look at DeChambeau as, to me, is the one guy. And right now, as a matter of fact, if we could even look live, because we do have the tournament underway, we can see if we can get who's at the top right now, and it's early. And right on cue, now he's gone through 4 holes, but Tommy Fleetwood tied with Patrick Reed, 3 under, Jose Alafabal, 2 under with 2 other players. But again, as I'm recording this, what is this, 11:15 a.m. Thursday, April 9th, there's still people that haven't even got to the tee yet. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's the 90th edition of the Masters as well. Nice round number. Obviously, deep and steeped in tradition. So, I'll be all over this throughout the course of the weekend and obviously recap it there on Monday. Stay tuned on the channel if you haven't subscribed at JAYREELZ, where I will post updates, anything major about the tournament, anything else in sports for that matter. I know I've kind of laid low with a lot of the posts recently, but that's going to ramp up here with a lot that's going on in sports. So definitely stay tuned to the channel. Subscribe if you haven't done so. I'd really appreciate that. But that's what you have with the golf. Obviously, no Tiger. As you know, with his situation regarding addiction, getting treatment for that. Phil Mickelson not here, 3-time winner, as he has a family health issue that he's dealing with. So 2 of the big players here over the last 25 years, not at Augusta. So if you're wondering, yeah, I'm sure you knew about Tiger, maybe you didn't know about Phil, but that's what we have there with the golf. And I'm here for it as we get ready to see what these next 4 days are going to be like there down in Augusta. All right, so let me turn my attention to hoops. And I thought about doing this on the back end. I'll do this now just to, I don't want to say to poo-poo it or sweep it under the rug by any means as I lace up my high tops. But it's already 3 days old. Michigan wins the national title. You already know that. Michigan did it in a way that we haven't seen throughout the course of this tournament, where they did it with a lot of grit, a lot of toughness. We all know that winning a championship, especially in the NCAA tournament, is always a challenge. You're always going to have that one game that's going to be whether a nail biter or whether it's going to be a game that's going to take a lot of heart. That talent will rise to the top at the end of the day. But when you go through the muck, when you have a terrible shooting performance as they did in the first half, they didn't even connect on a 3 in the first half. They made 2 in the entire game. And their top player, Yaxel Lindeborg, who was compromised with injury, but certainly had a better second half than the first, only scored 13 points. You had Elliot Cadeau, who was your MOP, as the floor general there, who had a great 2 games. I understand he didn't shoot well in the game against Arizona. Had a lot of turnovers, but certainly excellent passing, generating the offense, getting it to his teammates, and they played hellacious defense. And even though UConn had a shot there at the end, it was 67-63. Roddy Gale Jr. missed 2 free throws. And when UConn had the ball there with about, I'd say, off the top of my head, 35 seconds to go, I said, oh, this is dangerous. Because if UConn connects on a 3 here, Michigan's going to play tight. They are probably going to be running around, wondering what's going to happen next. not being in the situation where they've blown out teams throughout the entire tournament, getting into the 90s, and here they were in a rock fight, 67-63, but they were unable to make a three. I forgot who took that three. I don't know if that was Braylon Mullins or I may have been Alex Caravan, and he missed that three. They got the rebound. They made 2 free throws, and then they end up winning 69-63. UConn, listen, a tremendous ride to the Final Four, to the championship game by any means. For those who have come out and said, oh, Danny Hurley's legacy takes a hit here, nonsense. I understand they were a 2 seed. I get it that they got the break of all time in that Duke game. And when you really think about it, they had no business being there, but they were there. Duke made an ill-advised pass, which was a fatal one for their chances of getting back to a Final Four and to a national championship game. But this isn't a knock on Hurley, this game. Listen, if they would have got blown out, they would have lost 92-65. I could say, all right, his team was unprepared. His team went up against a juggernaut. They were a no-show, but no, they were in the game. Now, was Michigan in danger of losing that game? They were not. At 67-63, for a split second, I thought, if they make a three here, and they needed a three, because let's say even if they just got a basket and they fouled, if Michigan hit 2 free throws, they'd be up by 2 possessions, where they had to cut that to a 1-possession game. And if they did do that, then I would have been concerned with Michigan at that point, but it never got to that. So therefore, I can't knock Hurley, and I'm not a UConn fan in the least, so trust me, I'm not breaking out the UConn pom-poms by any means, but it's unfair for people that despise Hurley or hate the program to say that, oh, now there's a blemish on his legacy. Nonsense. He's still got to 3 championship games in 4 years. That hasn't been done in forever. And yes, that would have been, I can't say historic, but for this era of college basketball, it would have been historic, because the last time you saw any team win 3 straight or win 3 and 4, you got to go back to UCLA, late 60s into the 70s, and then mid-70s at that. So if Hurley would have won, yeah, that would have been an enormous feather in his cap. And there would have been no dispute of what UConn is to the sport, what Hurley is to coaching. He, hands down, would be the coach of this generation. And he's still writing his story. That's not to say that he's not going to win another championship or can't get back to one. But with all that being said, I just thought it was very unfair for people on social media to come out. And I'm not talking about the average Joe, the keyboard warrior. I'm talking about guys like me who post content, create content. Now they're doing it for clickbait, rage bait. I get it, which you're not going to get that here if you're new to the channel. But yeah, I had to shut that down and be like, come on, guys, really? You're going to put this out as a story to a knock on what Hurley has done by losing this game to a Michigan team that had better talent? I won't say that much superior, but they were the better team. I mean, there's no other way to say it. So congratulations to the Wolverines, as I believe they're going to have their parade on Saturday, based on our guy J-Rod from Michigan. Shout out to he and Fishing Angel, of course, who are always big supporters of the channel. So that's what you have there with the college basketball. Now, as far as the NBA goes, your final weekend, final few games begin tonight. And you have a good game tonight in the Garden. Celtics, Knicks. Celtics win. They'll cement themselves a 2 seed. And I think they'll still get the 2 seed when it's all said and done. But here's the one thing, and I want to talk about this. It's fascinating to think that tonight, with the Celtics coming to town, and chances are they'll be coming to town about a month from now with the way the seeding is working out in the Eastern Conference, because the Celtics, based on what we witnessed last year, them losing in the second round to the Knicks, Tatum tearing his Achilles in Game 4, and now Tatum coming back to the Garden for the first time. I think this is Now, I'm not going to make this bigger than what it is, but I think this is a good thing and even bigger for Tatum and the Celtics to go through this tonight than they would if Tatum's first game back in the Garden was in the playoffs. And the reason why is that he gets this out of the way now. And I don't know what the reaction is going to be. I mean, what fan base from New York and vice versa is going to cheer for somebody from Boston? I get it, Mariano Rivera there on opening day in 2005 when the Yankees somehow, some way happened to be the opening day opponent. And remember in 2004, Mariano, the walk, the stolen base, Dave Roberts, the base hit by Bill Miller, and them also blowing the game. Well, that was more Tom Gordon in the next game. But anyway, he got a standing ovation. I believe Derek Jeter got a standing ovation in his last game in Fenway, which happened to be the final game of the regular season there in 2014, before he got removed. So, yeah, those two guys got standing ovations. But I don't expect that to happen for Tatum tonight at the Garden. But it's good to know that he's going to get this game out of the way. And he tried to downplay it, although I'm sure there's going to be a lot of personal meaning, knowing what took place there 11 months ago, and to him to come back and play on that floor and to get it out now. It's not a situation where he's walking into that building for the first time in a playoff setting where, let's say, both teams are tied at 1. And knowing that the crowd's going to get on him, knowing that it's going to be hostile, and not that that should faze Tatum, but the crowd could be a factor where he's going to go through this tonight. He's going to get it out of his system, whatever it may be. Who knows? Maybe along the process, he puts up 28, 10, and 7, and the Celtics will clinch their 2 seed, albeit better. But I think if you're a Celtic fan, like yours truly, it's good that he's having this game happen tonight and not next month. And even though the stakes are going to be a lot bigger if they do play against one another this time a month from now, but at least we know this is a rodeo that he's been to, or obviously he's been down this avenue, and knowing that, this is the unknown. What's going to happen? How's this going to turn out? That's not going to happen here. So I think this is a good thing for Tatum and the Celtics to go through now, knowing that there could be a date with them sometime in the second round of the playoffs. So you got that going for you. And when we take a look, standings and everything else, and the schedule, of course. Now, OKC has wrapped up the 1 seed throughout. Third straight year they've done that, which is lofty company. Celtics in the 80s, the Lakers as well. We can go through some of the big teams in history. The Bulls in the 90s, the second go around when it comes to their three-peat, the 96 to 98 teams. So you have that going on. But as far as OKC was, as we all know, defending their title. But here's what we got here, and here's what to look out for in the final few days before we have the playing scenario, and obviously we'll recap this on Monday's podcast, etc. Standings. Eastern Conference, right now, the Cavaliers could get the 3 seed, which would be interesting because the Cavs are just a half game behind the Knicks, although the Knicks have a game in hand. So think about it. If the Celtics win tonight, they'll be tied with the Cavs. And I don't know the season series off the top of my head. Maybe they split. I don't know. I'd have to look into that. But the Cavaliers could get a 3 seed. In fact, let me see if I could look that up right now as quick as possible. I think they played 3 times. Yeah, they lost in New York the opening night of the season. So that's 0-1. 0-2. They lost on Christmas. That's right. The opening game there of that. And if they've only played 3 games, I think they won the next game. Yeah, they won in Cleveland. Now, did they only play 3 times? Let's see if they play a 4th. No. In fact, the Knicks have won the season series. So they would have to overtake them in the standings in order for them to get that 3 seed, which, let's face it, you would think the Knicks are going to be all right, even if they do lose tonight to the Celtics. But here's what gets more interesting. 5, 6, and 7. And you want to throw the Sixers 8. How about that? You have those teams that are separated by a game and a half. Atlanta, Toronto, they want to stay 5, 6. They don't want to fall back to the play-in scenario. Because if they do, even if they win their play-in game next Tuesday or Wednesday, they'll have the distinction to play the Celtics in the opening round next weekend. Where if you stay 5, 6, you're either going to get the Knicks or Cleveland if you're Atlanta, Toronto. And Orlando, who is right now a half game behind, although the Raptors have a game in hand, but Orlando wants to try to get to the 6th seed because not only will they have that opening week off from Sunday to Saturday, but let's say they're the 7 right now and they win that game, they're going to have to face the Celtics again in a rematch, which quite frankly looks like that could be the case because the final game of the season, where does Orlando play? In Boston. So they may actually just stay in town. Well, they wouldn't stay in town if they're the 7th seed because they would have to go ahead and play that one game, have an opportunity to see if they're going to get the 7th seed, and then they'll have to fly to Boston, of course. So that was a terrible take on my part. Caught myself, but I got it. So that 5, 6, 7 is going to be and even 8 because Philadelphia is there too. Any one of those teams could try to get to 5, 6. One team we know is going to be stuck in the play-in is Miami, and it looks like they're going to be on the road, whether it be at Charlotte or Philly for that matter. Charlotte, who I don't think, even though they're 2 in the loss back, I don't think they're going to get anywhere near the top 6. So we may be looking at Miami at Charlotte, and who knows? Will you get Philly at Orlando? Will you get Philly at Toronto? Will you get any combination? Who knows? So that is the one thing we're going to look at here in the East, and I'll get to the schedule in a moment. Out West, Denver's been flying high. Winners of 10 in a row, peaking at the right time. And with the Laker injuries, they may end up with a 3 seed, which looks like you could have a Denver, San Antonio second round. And a lot of people thought we were going to have Lakers, San Antonio. But as it is, you may have Lakers, Rockets at Oklahoma City in the second round. So that's the distinction that you get at the 4-5. And then you have Minnesota. They're going to be entrenched in the 6th seed. So they're not going to go anywhere because they're 4 games behind, and obviously they have 3 left. Really, the T-Wolves have 2 left. And they have not played well here down the stretch. So really, when you think about it, it's where Denver, LA, Lakers, and Houston, where they're going to end up because they're all separated by a game and a loss. And both the Rockets and Lakers have a game in hand on the Nuggets. So we'll keep that in mind as we go into the weekend. And then the play-in scenario, Golden State, they're going to go on the road. Whether it's at Portland or at the Clippers, that remains to be seen because the Trailblazers are a game behind the Clippers right now for the 8th seed in the West, where Phoenix is entrenched there in 7. And they actually have the schedule out where Phoenix is going to host on Tuesday night, 10 o'clock on Prime, and Golden State will be at either LA Clippers or Portland, 10 o'clock on Wednesday night. Obviously, we don't know who the East is based on everything I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago. And that is pretty much your race for seeding, who's going to go where, and obviously come Monday, we will dissect it. And as far as the schedule goes for the weekend, as I pull that up, schedule is as follows. Tonight, Miami at Toronto. And I always say Miami, and not that it matters because it's not as if they're going to get anywhere higher than that. But Toronto, I got to bring up because they're in that mix there. And these are the games that matter. I'm not talking about Indiana, Brooklyn, etc. Philly at Houston. And Houston's won 7 in a row, by the way. Lakers at Golden State. And Celtics, Knicks, as you know, both of those games are on Prime Video. 7:30 for Celtics, Knicks. Lakers, Warriors at 10. Detroit at Charlotte, this is tomorrow. Miami at Washington. Cleveland and Atlanta, and they just played each other last night where Cleveland won. So that's a home and home. New Orleans at Boston. That's if they lose tonight. Just keep that in mind if they lose. So I'm just bringing that up. Philly at Indiana, Toronto at the Knicks. So Knicks got back-to-back where they got the Raptors coming in. Orlando, Chicago. Dallas, San Antonio. Well, San Antonio, they can't get the 1, so they're stuck in the 2. Oklahoma at Denver. Minnesota at Houston. Clippers in Portland. There you go. That is probably going to be for the 8th seed. And I don't know what the season series stands with those two teams, but that looks like that is going to be it. If the Clippers win, they'll have the 8th seed, and they'll have 2 chances to get the 7 or 8 seed, where Portland will be stuck at the 9, and they got to win 2 to get in. Golden State at Sacramento, Phoenix at LA, the Lakers. And Prime Video has Cleveland, Atlanta, Minnesota, Houston. As for Sunday, because there are no games Saturday, why, I don't know. I have to look into that. Sunday's full slate, Orlando at Boston, Miami at Washington. Wow, Miami's last 3 games on the road. Oof. And we really think about the last 4 games. And they play both Washington, which helps them. No, hold on. Did I get that right? No, that's my apologies. I'm reading the wrong one here. They're actually at home, their final game. Orlando at Boston, Washington, Cleveland, Detroit, Indiana. Oh, I say Detroit. Atlanta at Miami, big game there. Charlotte at New York, Knicks. Milwaukee at Philly, Brooklyn at Toronto. Memphis at Houston, New Orleans at Minnesota, Phoenix at OKC, Denver, San Antonio, Utah at the Lakers, Golden State at the Clippers, Sacramento at Portland. And the ESPN games, Orlando at Boston, Denver, San Antonio. The games on Sunday, no afternoon games, which I find a little odd. 6 o'clock and 8:30. Those are the 2 windows for the NBA. To me, they should have done all the games at 3:30 or 3 o'clock, kind of like Major League Baseball. But I guess they split up like the East games at 6 and then the West games at 8:30, just to kind of have a fair schedule for everybody who are battling it out for those final few spots for positioning there in the conference. So that is your NBA. Now let me lace up my skates, get to the NHL. Hole and Dan Sock, what is happening? J-Rod, yes. Vlado, welcome. I'll get to the comments. I'll get to the questions there later on. Just want to say hello to my people there who are jumping into the room. Cheers to everybody. This is H2O for those watching on YouTube Live, and we'll on Spotify for those who subscribe on Spotify. Of course, the JAYREELZ podcast. NHL, the final week. It will conclude next week, where the playoffs will then follow suit there that weekend. And I'll say this from an Islander perspective, because I'm an Islander fan. They haven't played since Saturday when they lost in Carolina. And they've had teams surpass them in the standings, whether you're Philadelphia, Columbus, Ottawa, even Detroit. And now, as the dust settles with 4 games left, where do the Islanders stand if you're a fan of the team? Well, you play Toronto tonight. Toronto's a dead team walking. They've had 5 days off. They bring in a new head coach in Peter DeBoer, getting himself acclimated. Whatever message that he's trying to send to the team, hopefully he's done that, and I'm sure he has, but hopefully he's done that to the point where the team now gets a little bit invigorated for this final 4-game stretch to see if they could get in. They do not control their own destiny. They're on the outside looking in. And 10 days ago, they had the 2 seed in the Metropolitan Division, which meant that they would have hosted the first round of the playoffs at that time against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And right now, they are trying to scratch and knock at the door, but at this very moment, no one's letting them in. And what we have here for the Islanders, as we break it all down, they do have Toronto, but their schedule after that is very tricky. Mind you that the remainder of the games are at home. So if there is a plus to this final stretch, is that they do not have to go on the road. They host Ottawa on Saturday, followed by Montreal Monday. No, excuse me, Sunday. It's back-to-back. So not easy. 3 games in 4 nights. Toronto tonight, Ottawa Saturday, Montreal Sunday. And then they play Tuesday night to Carolina, which also means that if they do, let's say they run the table and they end up being the second wild card, guess who they'll open up the postseason against? The Carolina Hurricanes, which I've seen a million times in my life, and I wish to not see them ever again. But you know what? If that's the opponent you play, if you somehow qualify for the postseason, so be it. I'm thinking if they win 3 or 4, my dear friend John Irving says they're going to have to run the table, which is going to be tricky. Ottawa's battling it out for a playoff spot. Montreal, they're battling it out to see if they could get a 1 seed in the conference. And Carolina, will they rest people? This isn't the NBA. There's no such thing as load management when it comes to the National Hockey League. So with them, who are trying to battle it out for a 1 seed in their own right, as the Sabres are 2 points behind them, they're going to play everybody. So it is a very daunting task for this Islander team, and I think they're going to fall short. I don't think they're going to. With this schedule, there's no way. And even though right now they are 3 points behind Ottawa for the last wildcard spot, and they're also 3 points behind the Flyers for the 3 seed in the Metropolitan Division. Because you got to remember, when you look at the standings here, Ottawa is in the Atlantic. So even if Ottawa has more points than the Islanders could still get the 3 seed in the division, which would mean no Carolina Hurricanes, number 1. And number 2, they do have another outlet to get into the playoffs other than the wild card. So one more time, people, even though Ottawa has that final spot, and yes, they could catch them, but they could also catch the Flyers. And listen, at this point, you can't be greedy to think that, oh, I want the 3 seed. Yeah, I want it too, but you may not be able to get the 3 seed. And we'll go through the schedules in a minute to see who the Flyers play and who all these teams play that are going to battle it out for these final few spots. But the East, just like the West, it is a jumbled mess. And in fact, with the Islanders, even though they're at 89 points and they're 3 points back, but they still have to leapfrog over the Red Wings and over the Blue Jackets, who are ahead of them in the standings. And although they have a game in hand, let me make sure I read that correctly. No, they do not. Everybody right now is at 78 games. And the Islanders finished their season on a Tuesday. As I mentioned, the end of the regular season is a week from tonight. So no matter what they do, whether they run the table or win minimum 3 games, and 3 games, that gets them to 95. Is that going to be enough? Could be. I don't know if it's going to be. Let's find out. Also, you got to look at the Capitals. They have 89 points, but they're behind the Islanders because the Islanders have more wins. So here we go. I'm going to start with Ottawa, their remaining games. The Senators, just in case if they get to the wild card. They have Florida at home, at the Islanders, which is, that is a game 7 for the Islanders. Because remember, 3 points behind, as you know. At New Jersey, Toronto. That is a very easy schedule for Ottawa. So you could pretty much – now, the Islanders have to win the Ottawa game. That goes without saying. But the other 3 games are a cakewalk. Let's look at Philadelphia. Because let's say, can we get a 3 seed? Is there any way we could get in? All right. Who are they playing? Their final 4 games are as follows. At Detroit, huge game there, which is tonight. At Winnipeg, easy game. Then home to Carolina, home to Montreal. Not an easy schedule. That bodes well. On the schedule isn't easy, but it's not as if Philadelphia has a rose petal carpet to a playoff berth. Now, let me get to the teams that are right above them. Detroit, we know they're playing Philadelphia tonight. Who do they have after that? Detroit has New Jersey, and then a trip to Florida at Tampa and the Panthers. Philly and Tampa are the 2 tough games. Jersey, that's at home. You would think they beat them. And then at Florida, that's been a dead team walking. And I'm sure they can't wait for the season to end so they can go on vacation, considering they've been to the last 3 Stanley Cups, including winning back-to-back the last 2 years. And then the last team is Columbus. Their final 4 games are as follows. At Buffalo, at Montreal, Boston, Washington. Does Washington have anything to play for in that final game? I don't know. Not an easy schedule. As Buffalo, Montreal, they're trying to battle it out to see who's going to possibly get the 1 seed or at least get the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. And then the Capitals, who have already played 79 games. So all those other teams I mentioned prior have a game in hand on Washington. Who do they wrap up with? We know Columbus at Columbus in the final game, but a weekend home and home against Pittsburgh. At Pittsburgh Saturday, 3 o'clock, home to the Penguins Sunday. And those games, ABC Saturday, TNT, HBO Max Sunday. A lot of these schedules not easy, which you like. Detroit's pretty favorable, but you got to see where the dust is going to settle here one step at a time. Come Monday, we'll see where the Islanders, they're already going to have 3 games played by then. So, I'll be on top of that and see where they lie then. But then there's also the Western Conference, which is also a barn burner. Because when you look at the standings there, out west, you have Colorado. We know they have it wrapped. Dallas, Minnesota, that remains to be seen, where Minnesota's just 2 points behind Dallas for the 2 seed, and that'd be big because that means they'll have home ice advantage in that opening round. You had Edmonton, who won last night, backed by a hat trick from Connor McDavid after losing the night before to Utah. And Utah, 4 points ahead with a game in hand over Nashville for the 2 wildcard spots out west. And Edmonton, with their win last night, they're 2 points ahead of Vegas and 3 points ahead of Anaheim, where Anaheim has really hit the skids here, losing 6 in a row. But here's where it gets interesting. In the wild card chase, here's what you got. Nashville, the second spot at 84. Kings, who are 1 point behind them at 83, and they beat the Pred a couple nights ago, and their schedule's rather easy. San Jose, who lost to Edmonton last night, now 3 points behind Nashville. Winnipeg, 4 points. St. Louis, now 6 points. And they have 5 games left. They're not out of it. Seattle, 9 points. Forget about them. They've lost 6 in a row. So you have a little bit of separation there, more so in the East. And when we look at the schedule, I know Nashville, they have the toughest of all. Nashville, who had lost to the Kings 2 nights ago and then beat the Ducks last night, shut them out, in fact. They wrap up with this. At Utah, Minnesota, San Jose, Anaheim. Those games at home. They could still get in, but here's where it gets tricky. When you look at LA, the Kings. Tonight, they host Vancouver. Dead team walking. After that, they host Edmonton. Then, to close out the year, they go to Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary. Cake schedule. Vancouver twice. Edmonton being the only game of note. Now let's throw in San Jose. The Sharks, 5 games left. They have at Anaheim tonight, followed by Vancouver, at Nashville, at Chicago, at Winnipeg. Tricky schedule, even though Anaheim has been scuffling, but you have Nashville, who's going to be battling it out, and that's a playoff game. But you have Vancouver, at Chicago, at Winnipeg are winnable games. Does San Jose make it? I don't think they do. I think when it's all said and done, because of their schedule, I think the Kings are going to get that final spot. And if the Kings do get that final spot, they'll end up playing Colorado in the first round, where the Dallas, Minnesota will get the second wild card, or the first wild card in this case, that being Utah. So that is your complete breakdown of the playoff chase in the NHL. As far as the schedule, I gave you some of the games, as you know. But tonight, Toronto at New York, the games that matter. Columbus at Buffalo, Tampa at Montreal, Florida at Ottawa, Philly at Detroit, Pittsburgh at Jersey, Carolina at Chicago. I shouldn't say Carolina. Minnesota at Dallas. That could be for the 2 seed tonight. Dallas wins, you would think they'd be in good stead. Minnesota, they'll be tied with them. In fact, what is their remainder schedule, Minnesota? Do they play Dallas twice here? Minnesota plays Dallas, at Nashville, at St. Louis, and then Anaheim. So the next 2 games tricky, but and then Dallas, Minnesota, New York, at Toronto, at Buffalo. Yeah, at New York and Toronto. Those. I mean, listen, if they win tonight, Dallas, they're going to win. They're going to beat the Rangers. They're going to win in Toronto. Buffalo, who knows? I think they're going to have the 2 seed wrapped up when it's all said and done. And then the remainder of the schedule here. Schedule, people. Click. All right. You have, and this is the rest of the schedule for tonight. Columbus, no, that's tomorrow. Oh, excuse me, that's Saturday. I got ahead of myself. Nashville at Utah, Calgary at Colorado, San Jose at Anaheim, Vegas, Seattle, Vancouver, LA. No games Friday. Don't know why that's the case, because you don't have any games in the NHL Friday and no NBA games on Saturday. All right, interesting. You have a triple header on ABC. First up, Tampa at Boston, followed by Washington at Pittsburgh, Vegas at Colorado at 8 p.m. Then you have Ottawa at New York, 1 p.m. start, Edmonton at LA, Jersey, Detroit, Minnesota, Nashville, Rangers at Dallas, Carolina, Utah, Columbus at Montreal, big game there. And then Vancouver, San Jose. Sunday, Pittsburgh, Washington, TNT, as you know, Montreal, New York, 6 o'clock, Boston at Columbus, Ottawa at Jersey, Vancouver at Anaheim, and then Utah, Calgary. Interesting schedule. NHL is going to be on popping. And I get it. Not many people are into the NHL. Not many people are wrapped up in what's happening with the hockey. But again, it's that time of year. This is why it's the best sports month. So we look forward to recapping that on Monday as well. Now, let me see. Let me take off the skates. I guess it's time to put on the cleats. Yes. Let's break out the cleats. Get into a little baseball before we wrap up, and I'll look at all your comments, get into that. Oh, I see Mark Salmons. Here we go, Eric Davis. the discussions about Hal Morris on whether or not he played in the 1990 World Series at first base. But I'll digress for now. Baseball continues to stay hot. You got to like what you see with the MLB in these first couple of weeks. Surprising developments. I understand. Maybe not something to hang your hat on, but I'll get to those in a moment. The World Series rematch was anything but. I understand yesterday's game was interesting where the Blue Jays salvaged that 3-game series. They were down 3-1 late, and they scored the 3 runs, and they won 4-3. They got annihilated Monday night, 14-2. Dalton Rushing. Who? What? The catcher hit 2 home runs in a game. Teoscar hit a home run. I believe Shohei hit a home run. I believe so. But they mauled the Blue Jays, and they also won 4-1 on Tuesday night before losing yesterday. Dodgers are the Dodgers. They're 9-3, riding high. They're on their way to 110 wins, and we'll see you in October. And even if they don't get to 110 or get to 105 or 100 or even 90 for that matter, they're going to get in the postseason. And again, just wake us up then to where we could see what the Dodgers are going to do from that point on. That's number one. Number two, the brawl the other night between Jorge Soler of the Angels and Ronaldo Lopez, the pitcher of the Atlanta Braves, to where Soler hit a home run first inning, then got hit by a pitch, and then was thrown inside, I believe on a 2-0 pitch, and the next thing you know, he's charging a mound. And they both got suspended. Now, they both got suspended 7 games, which is a bit unfair if you're Soler, because Soler is an everyday player where Ronaldo Lopez is just going to miss 1 start. So, and I believe they're going to appeal. Let me see. Is anything latest on that? I believe they're going to appeal, but yeah, nothing late. It's the latest. Yeah, both getting 7 games, we know. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Homer off Lopez. Yeah. But the strange thing about this brawl was that Soler throws a little bit too close for comfort, and with the way of course, that bats went. But something was said where Soler didn't like, and that's where he charged the mound. And all Lopez said was he didn't say anything that was inflammatory or anything that would rile up Soler, but it certainly did. And next thing you know, they're at the mound trying to square off, and Lopez trying to hit him, and it was just not one of the uglier scenes in as far as the baseball brawl goes, but definitely not pretty. So let's see what's going to happen here. You would probably think by today, the fight was Tuesday. They appealed yesterday. I'm sure a verdict will come down today, whether or not they're going to get less. And if you ask me, Lopez, even if he does get 5, he's just going to miss 1 start, where Soler is going to miss, obviously, the 5 games. Or if they do not get the appeal and they got to sit out the 7 games, then he's going to have to sit that out. But maybe you give Soler 10 games. I'm sorry. Maybe you give Lopez 10 games and give Soler the 7, where he's going to miss 2 starts. But obviously, I'm not the disciplinarian when it comes to Major League Baseball. So you got that cooking. And then the other thing here in the early part of the week, break up the Rockies. Where did this come from? Rockies at one point last year, what were they, 7-49? And they are at 500. Now, we all know 2 weeks from now, they could be 8-14 or whatever their record would be at that time. Let me see if they're going to play 2 weeks from now, 12 games. Let's say 8 and you know what I mean. It could be 8-18. But right now, they swept the Astros, who came in playing pretty well. Rockies, who were on nobody's radar, let's face it. And they'll probably be on nobody's radar once you get to May 1st. But very impressive. And they not only beat the Astros, they beat them up. Astros couldn't score a lick. I mean, I looked at these final scores. I think one game was 9-7. Let me pull that up here real quick. But I was very surprised by the outcome of this series, to where Houston scored 7 runs in the first game. In the second game, they only scored 1 run. And then yesterday, they scored 1 run. So I guess that mile high air did not do their bats any well as they leave Colorado with their bats over their shoulders. And yeah, just some very surprising development there. But we would think the Rockies will come back to earth and then it'll be as if nothing ever happened. But you have a lot of afternoon baseball today. And how about the Phillies getting shut up by the Giants back-to-back games? 6-0 and 5-0. Definitely not good if you're Rob Thompson and the manager of the Phillies. But with baseball's very good start and everybody, including yours truly, geeked up over it, your schedule here for the weekend, and you have a lot of day games here on, I believe it's a rather light schedule. It's not too bad. You got Marlins hosting the Reds. In fact, that's going to start in 10 minutes. Yankees will play the rubber match against the Athletics. And yeah, I don't know what the Steinbrenners were thinking to having the past 2 games, A's, Yankees, and I understand the Mets are in town too, but the Mets took advantage of moving their game up from 7:10 to 4:10 the last 2 days because the weather here in the Northeast has been brutal. 2 nights ago, Yankee Stadium, at around 9:30, the temperature was 36 degrees with a wind chill 23. The Mets at least had the foresight to play the games at 4:10, where it's, all right, I understand it's late afternoon into the evening, but does anybody want to sit in a ballpark ordering hot chocolate at 9:30, shivering while you're watching your baseball team? I don't know if that was hubris on the Yankees' part. I don't know if they didn't want to copycat the Mets in that regard. And for sure, they didn't want to move up their games to 110 if the Mets were moving up to 410. But be that as it may, the Yankees will play the Athletics 1:35 this afternoon. You have Detroit, Minnesota, a 1:40 game, and then the rest of the night games, including Arizona and the Mets in their rubber game. Followed by the White Sox playing Kansas City and in Colorado at San Diego. And then your series of the weekend, Pittsburgh at Chicago, Cubs that is. Arizona will go down the Turnpike to play Philadelphia. Miami at Detroit, Angels in Cincinnati, Minnesota at Toronto, Athletics playing the Mets, so they stay into the weekend based on this opening series with the Yanks. Yankees in Tampa, Guardians at Atlanta, San Francisco at Baltimore, White Sox and Royals, as you know, Washington, Milwaukee, Boston at St. Louis, Colorado, San Diego, Houston at Seattle, and then Texas at the Dodgers, which will round out your baseball here for, in essence, to start the 3rd week of the baseball season. And let me see, any other news and notes on the diamond that I missed? Let me just make sure. Baseball, yeah, we talked about the brawl. Oh, yeah, 2 more notes. One very sad one. I guess I'll get to that now. Davey Lopes, longtime second baseman of the Dodgers, also played in Oakland, managed the Brewers in the early 2000s, prolific base stealer, had that big mustache, played on those great Dodger teams of the 70s, lost to the Yankees in the back-to-back years, and then won a World Series in 81, died at the age of 80 as the news came down yesterday. I don't know, what were the details of his death? Any clue, any idea as I looked that up? Lopes. Doesn't show here, of course. Oh, here we go. Lopes died Wednesday. Informed of his death by a former wife. She told the team Lopes had Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease, died at a hospital in his hometown of East Providence, Rhode Island. Terrible. Didn't realize that he had had both Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. And, yeah, Lopes, listen, was he a great player? He wasn't great. Obviously, very steady second baseman, good offensive player. As I mentioned, excellent base runner, base stealer. Led the National League in back-to-back years in stolen bases. Played on that great infield with Steve Garvey, Bill Russell at short, Ron Say at third. Thoughts, prayers, condolences go out to the Lopes family, the Dodgers, Major League Baseball, Just a sad story there. Oh, I didn't realize that. So Zach Eflin will undergo Tommy John. He's done for the Orioles. And then I saw something else here. Oh, Robert Stevenson out for the season with elbow injury for Anaheim. All right, you got that. And then one last thing before we get to the comments, questions, all that. I saw the other day, and this goes to my guy Fuqua, if he's in the room, that the Mets are going to retire Carlos Beltran's number 15, I believe, sometime later this year. And we understand that the Mets, over the last, really since the Steve Cohen era, they've been handing out these numbers as if it's Halloween candy. And I get it. Some are warranted. David Wright, Darryl Strawberry, Dwight Gooden. Keith may have been before. Jerry Kuzman, 36. And remember, up until Piazza, I believe, Mets didn't have a lot of retired numbers. It was 14 Gil Hodges. It was 41 Tom Seaver. Obviously, Jackie Robinson's league wide. You didn't have many. Then came Keith. They also retired Willie Mays' number to 24 when he returned back to New York after the trade in 72. But this one doesn't sit right with me. And it's nothing against Carlos Beltran. He had excellent years, first year notwithstanding, but he had excellent years with the Mets. Obviously, everybody's going to look at what happened, the final at-bat of the 06 season against Adam Wainwright. And not to go down that road again, I've talked about that a million times over. But does he really, is he a tried and true Met? You know what? I got to look at his numbers. Just as a Met. I'm not looking overall. We know he's a Hall of Famer. And to me, he's borderline. And you know I'm a short room guy. But Beltran, just his Met numbers. And he played there 6.5 years because remember, he got traded for Zach Wheeler in 2011. Here are Beltran's Met numbers. 7 years, I know 6.5. He batted .280, OPS 069, on base 369. That's not bad. And the OPS is good. Grade is 900 or above. 1,000, forget it. 149 homers, 559 RBIs. He stole 100 bases. How many? I think he was number 2 in the MVP in 2006, if I'm not mistaken. Let me get that widescreen view here. Beltran. No, he was in fact, No, he was 4th in the MVP voting. The following year in 07 was 20th, and then 21st in 08. And then 2011, yeah, I mean, in my eyes, he doesn't belong. I know those 3 years as I'm looking at right now. 06, 07, 08. 09, he played 81 games. 10, 64 games. 11, he split the two, 98 with the Mets. Yeah, I wouldn't retire his number. Then remember, he was going to be the manager of the Mets before these cheating, the sign stealing scandal came down, and therefore got the job taken away from him. And I understand he's been back to the team as an advisory position, I believe. But yeah, he does not deserve his number hung. And I get it. He's played there 7 years, the most out of all the teams. Well, he's with the Royals for 7 years, but that was early on in his career. Sorry. No offense, Carlos, but if I'm Steve Cohen, I wouldn't have done it. Comments. Let's get to it. Salim, I know. Oh, thank you, Salim. I appreciate that. Oh, Salima. This was early on. The novice, my guy. Kevin says I look like Andrew Tate. Ugh, that doesn't sit well with me, but that's okay. I look like an egg. Gaming poor. All right. Let's get to some nicer comments. Vlado, Boston will win the East. They may win the East. Do you think they can win the whole thing? I think they could beat Detroit, and Cade Cunningham came back last night, by the way. That's good for them. And what did they do last night in the game? Cade Cunningham. Pistons. He had a double-double, 13 and 10. All right. How many minutes? I should have looked that up. Damn it. I probably played, what, 28 minutes? I'm sure he didn't play a ton. That's a guess. 26. All right. So good for Cade. But listen, I hope they win the East, but I want them to win the whole thing. I mean, could you imagine if the Celtics win the championship this year based on everything that happened dating back to last, May? What was that date? May 12th? Tatum ruptures his Achilles. They go down 3-1 in the series. They get embarrassed in Game 6 of the Garden. There's literally a swarm of Knicks fans outside of on 33rd and 7th. You would have thought they won the NBA championship, which was outlandish. They trade Drew Holiday. They trade Kristaps Porzingis. They trade Anthony Simons in season for Nikola Vucevic. They have all these guys step up. Neemias Queta, Hugo Gonzalez, Baylor Shireman, Luke Garza, Sam Hauser, who could be a little bit more consistent for my liking. And Tatum does come back. They're 13-2 upon his return, and they've won 54 games. This would be the ultimate. I think as a Celtic fan, if the Celtics win the title this year, and hopefully I'm here for a lot longer, I'm here for another 30 years at least, I can't even ask for another Celtic championship after that. I mean, really? I could certainly say, wow, the basketball gods gave the Celtics a championship in 2025-26 on top of the one that they got in 24 with Tatum's return, the unexpected nature of this team, Joe Mazzulla, everything. I mean, I just have to throw my arms up. Jordan, after hitting another 3 against Portland. But that's a long way off. We shall see. Bovlado, I appreciate that. Tatum has some great. Yeah, he's had his moments where you could see he's still getting acclimated, but he's getting there. Boston, San Antonio. That would be a good final. In San Antonio, yeah, Miami is trash. Absolutely. I agree. They should be a lot better than what they are. Maybe not. I don't know, because, I mean, they don't have a great team. But Hole and Dan Sock, my guy, what is happening? J-Rod, what is happening? You look at Zeggy, say, yeah. No, geez. I don't know what's wrong with him, but yeah, he did not put that sentence together well. All right, Vlado, Houston beats Lakers. Really? Well, yeah, with no Luka and no Austin Reeves. Denver beats Minnesota. OKC beats Golden State. San Antonio will beat Denver. All right. All right, no, that's good. I wouldn't be shocked to see that. So San Antonio beat Denver and OKC to get to the final. Wow. Sorry, I go nuts when people attack my friends. Oh, I appreciate your support there, Dan. Thank you for that. T-Dot resident, yes. How you feel about the Raptors? Or even the Blue Jays for that matter. What was the crowd like up there? Was everybody wanting revenge, even though revenge in April is definitely not the same as October and November? Football coming to Orlando, Jacksonville next season. Looks like. Yeah, I know. Oh, interesting. Football to Orlando. Jacksonville. Listen, why not? If they're renovating the stadium. That's it, Val. All right, here we go. Mark Sammons. Let's look what he got. I was wondering about how filling in for Eric Davis after injury. Just Google how many times the Howmore's playing the field. I'm not going down there. Hey, even ask AI zero. Well, yeah, we're not going to go down this road again. Yes, I did see that, Vic. Yeah, I talked about that a little bit during the prior to you jumping on board the podcast pregame. Because think about this, at least 60% of Major League Baseball players that are making the minimum. Not everybody's making 20, 30, 40 million, but you do have a lot of those guys in the league. But Val, welcome. You have those guys in the league, but at the same time, you have more of the relievers, the backup infielder, the utility outfielder that are going to make the minimum. Rookies. I mean, it's just how it is. Hybrid Lewis. All right. The Masters is first one in 3 years about Tiger. Yes, that is true, Vic. Very good. 100%. Fuqua. Spot for Augusta. That's why I can endow strawberry forward. It's a disgrace. Yeah, I hear you on that, Fuqua. But, Darryl and Doc, they were two huge components to that Met ball club in the early 80s. I mean, we know Keith Hernandez was the trade in 83. But when Darryl came up in 83 and Doc in 84, and I mean, yeah, I could you could argue that there were more popular players at that time, despite of their missteps, than Beltran ever was. 80 years faithful. So that's on next. All right. If you were a Major League Baseball manager, would you? Oh, hell no. I would not. The old saying, eye test over iPad. Mark's still going at it with Hal Morris. Yeah, for those who are wondering why you see pinch hitter, why you see Hal Morris did not play in the 1990 World Series. If you watched the live stream yesterday, I posted video clips of Hal Morris not only being introduced into the lineup, but also him batting, him taking a terrible call third strike. And, yeah, so that's what Mark has with me as we're back and forth on that. All right, what else you got, people? Anything else? Yeah, one thing I didn't mention, too. I'm thinking, yeah, I didn't mention the football. I know Dexter Lawrence, but, yeah, he's not going to report. He wants big-time money, but, yeah, I didn't get into that. NFL will have their day. I'm not talking NFL today, so. So, I don't know. What else we got, people? Anything else with the comments? Anything else happening? Let's see. Let's see if anything popped up here in sports. Yeah, I'm looking at the leaderboard here. Yeah, Patrick Reed, Tommy Fleetwood. Through 8 holes. Fleetwood through 8. All right. So if that is it, people, I will get ready to sign off. Here goes Dion. As I'll get ready to watch some afternoon baseball in a moment. There we go. You can, Mark. You have every right. If you were a Division I college basketball coach, would you wear a suit or dress casual? All right, that's a good one, Vic. I'd probably dress casual, although the old school in me would maybe want to wear a suit. But nah, I'd go casual. And it's funny because the NBA, prior to the pandemic, they all wore suits. And now they're dressed down. Oh, you're admitting defeat, Mark. That's good. Again, I said this yesterday. You're trying to sell something that I'm not buying because I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. So I'll just leave it at that. Vic, you have any more questions for me? Anybody have any questions? Competition this weekend? What's happening? What's going on? Yeah, I'm just looking up some other stuff here. Yeah, the City Connect uniforms, not a fan of those. And the Met ones, though, I think it's the worst one. All right. What is this, Brunson? Knicks are always on the verge of collapse. Yeah, who is this guy? Yeah. Nah, I'm just trying to catch up on stuff because I don't want to miss anything out before I sign off. So. Mugs merch. Working on that. Working on Mugs merch, beer glass merch, and you can use it for soda or water, whatever. Yeah, of course, t-shirts, hats. What are those? The stuff to keep your beer cold on a tailgate, barbecue. Why am I thinking kazoo? It's not kazoo. Yeah, working on all that stuff though, Vic. And if you hit me up, let me just see. Let me check my email here real quick. If you hit me up, I'll be more than happy to follow up with you, man. Let's see. Trader Jack McKeon. All right, but no, emails at JAYREELZpodcast@gmail.com. Hit me up there. I'll fill you in on more stuff. Oh, I got to write back that guy. Oh, and no, I'm not going to. I was going to mention something, but no, I'll save that. And you're going to be like, no, tell us, JAYREELZ. No, I got to save it. Until it's confirmed. I don't want to jinx it. So I'm knocking on wood right now. So stay tuned for that. Let me go back. Yeah, so merch. I appreciate that. Koozies. I said kazoos. Yeah. Thank you, Fuqua. Can you interview your schoolmate that? Oh, I never went to school with him, Fuqua. No, the crazy thing is I know the guy that got trash thrown on him. Let me see. That was right after. As a matter of fact, that was the night when I just talked about the game when the Knicks beat the Celtics that Friday night, and he was wearing a Pacer jersey. I know his mom. And when I saw that, I was shocked. I said to myself, what the hell? Like, I can't believe this. His name is Hans. Hans Perez is his name. And I don't know. Maybe I could probably get him on. I know it's a year. And, of course, the Pacers are nowhere near the playoffs, but yeah, Mugs merch. I definitely want it. Yeah, Mugs. I actually do have a JAYREELZ podcast mug, but it's not for sale. Beer cozy, yes. All right, Mark, what's your question? Simple question? Insulted someone for being correct? Why would I be insulted? Because I know I'm right. And everybody in the room confirmed it yesterday, too, and they watched it and whatever. So, Mark, I don't know what to tell you, my man. It's a rumble thing? What, you and I going to rumble? No rumbling. My positive thought for the weekend. Vic, where are you from again? I know, I should. You probably said this a zillion times, and I should know this. Wait. I noticed a Victor E. from Southern California. Yes. As I saw a text come in, yes, I confirm. Could that be done? I got to, that's definitely. Oh, Mark, stop. Stop. I'm not insulted because, come on, I showed you the proof yesterday. I mean, all you got to do is just go back. It's in the archives. My positive thought for the weekend. All right, let's see. Yeah, I don't want to sound redundant or repeat myself. Yes, you are from LA. Vic, if I asked you that 16 times, my apologies. Because I know I was about to say Victor E. Shout out to him. He's also from LA. It's $6 a gallon. Yeah, that's a joke. He pops in and out. Celtic fan too. Yeah, so I will not by any means forget that, Vic. And thank you. I guess my positive thought is that I'm just ecstatic. No, I said that before, though. Yeah, because I could thank you guys and so on and so forth and be grateful for you guys. And I kind of said that before. I guess my positive thought would be this. Get outside. If you're stuck indoors or if you're frustrated or whatever it is that you're going through, just get outside. Go for a walk. Maybe even go for a drive, but a walk is even better. A walk is therapeutic. I say do that. I know that's not a good one, Vic. My apologies, but yeah, New York is $4 a gallon, by the way, but yeah, at this pace, it probably will get to $6 before you know it. Thank you, Fuqua. Tell him. Tell him. Jeez. I mean, I don't even know how many more times we got to bring it up. I do not know. Let's see. We got the baseball scores. Marlins winning. All right. Let me go back here. What else we got? Touch. I like this. Touch grass, breathe air. Today's today. That's right. The novice can't get any better than that. Oh my God. He's relentless. He's a T1000. Here's the sad part, Mark. You had a whole room confirm it with me yesterday. A whole room. So that's it. I can't say no. Are Mets doing good this season? 7-5 after a 3-4 start. And they'll play tonight. So we'll see, Val. Oh, you have an appointment. All right, I hope that goes well for you. Val, you're going to go out and run on the trail? Lover's Point? Yeah, I know. I got to get out to run. I haven't run since my birthday. Yeah, I'll get out there this weekend. In fact, it's going to be 80 Monday and Tuesday next week, or Tuesday, Wednesday. So, yeah, you know I'll be out there. And Fuqua, a.k.a. Everyday Mets, a.k.a. Rhoda Penmark, Tatsuya Mai, Minnesota Fats, Kali Boy Bull, Jonathan Sean Cup. I know you'll be out there. Oh, Mark, I'm just going to post this just because and just laugh at it because, again, I proved to you yesterday and you don't want to take it for an answer. So, Vic, I did a live stream last year for my 7th anniversary for the podcast. It was 5 hours long. I got to top that one day. And you know what? I kind of miss doing my daily live streams that I did for the month of March. So, yeah, 5 hours. I've actually thought about, you ready for this? It's almost impossible because I don't live by myself. I would love to do a 24-hour live stream. I really do. And see what kind of buzz I'll get. I know it's like Mr. Beast-ish, but yeah. Matt Gage. Excuse me. All right, congrats to him. You see this comment, Mark? And you were in the room yesterday. My research speaks for itself. All you got to do is go back to that live stream yesterday, and the research was there. So there you go. And the late night lives. I know I did that one for my birthday too. Yeah, no, I'm planning to do a couple. Let me see. I may actually do one this weekend. Yeah, I may do some random ones. I don't know. Should I do random pop-up or should I announce them? Meaning that if I put a comment, like if I do a short, which is not going to get a lot of traction, but if I do a short, hey, I'm going to do a live stream, blah, blah, blah. All right, I'm back. Yeah, I think my mic unplugged. Can I move this up here? All right, you guys still hear me, right? Check, check, check. Check. Yeah, I see the what you call it. Yeah, I definitely do want to do more daily lives. So yeah, I should just do them random, right? I'm not going to announce them. Oh, that's a good one, Vic. Do I watch other sports live streams? Well, I was a guest on this one podcast called Truth Be Told Sports Podcast. They actually had one last night. I watched a little bit of that. No, it was 2 nights ago. Yeah, I don't watch McAfee. I don't watch. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know. Those guys don't really do. No, they do live streams, don't they? Like the Kenny For Reals and the Kofis of the world. Has Kenny For Real even come out with anything? And I'm bringing him up like I'm like a fan of his, which I'm not really crazy about his content, but no, I really don't watch other. I mean, I would if somebody had another live stream that was. I'll be all into it, without question. And Val, I watch other live streams sometimes, like 49ers one, sometimes YouTube. Okay. Yeah, random is cool, but a Discord is a must for the diehard to know. Yeah. Yeah, you see, like if I'm going to jump on anybody else's live stream, I want it to be credible, knowledgeable, entertaining, with integrity. That's I want. Like if what I put out, that's what I want to see. I don't want to see a goofball that's on there just babbling about other stuff than sports. And I understand people sometimes they ask different questions or they ask something personal, which I'll answer. I have no problem with that. But I understand you got some people say, "Oh, what do you think about what's going on in the world or whatever?" It's like, this isn't really the platform. Or sometimes people talk about health, which I get into health because, hey, health is wealth. But yeah, I stick to sports because that's what people are here for. I don't want it to be a thing where sports is the vehicle, but I want to talk about other stuff. I don't want to do that. I want it to pertain to what's happening with sports. And I definitely don't want the clickbait stuff where whatever. LeBron James is the worst player of all time. And here's the reason why. And it's like, ugh. And then, of course, all they want to do is they put up, oh, well, if you go to DraftKings and put in your code Johnny20, you'll get 20% off of your first bet. No. Nope, I do not subscribe to that. So. Oh, Mark, I'm just posting this. 33. What's this for Will Smith? Yes. Oh, here we go. Wait. Broad's Media? Was that Brody's Media? Let me look that up. Yeah, like I don't watch. Is the newest voice to sports talk. All right. Our takes are loud. All right. I don't know if I'm crazy about that. What's the thing? Wait. Our takes are loud. Subscribe to the takeover. So they must be from Philly because they're talking about. Look at this guy starting off the thing. He's yelling into the freaking microphone. Yeah, I think he yells into every. Look at his thumbnails. He's like he's yelling all the time. Are you losing faith in Jalen Hurts? Broad's Media. I'll check this out. It's got a lot of Philly content. Obviously, it's from Philadelphia. Are you aware of this? The novice? For those. Broad's Media. What is this? Haiku for you. A rice cake does not satisfy hunger. Yeah, rice cake is styrofoam. A paycheck of a rice cake does not satisfy hunger from Bio. What is this? Guess maybe I will in 2 months. Well, I don't know what you're referring to there, Mark. You diss me, I diss back. How did I diss you? By saying that? No. I disagree. What is this? Look at this. Well, everything about being a politician? No, absolutely not. And similar to what? I'm Sleepy Joe over here. Mark, come on, man. You got to get back to me. What you're saying, listen, I can understand if I said something that was, and I'll just leave this here. I could see if I said something that was off base or said something that was totally out of line from a standpoint of, let's say if I said Todd Benzinger never played on the Cincinnati Reds, and then he played on the Cincinnati Reds, and if you want to troll me for that, I get it. But knowing that he's your neighbor, knowing that I guess you're on his payroll, I don't know. But facts are facts. And come on, man. To say that I'm similar to Biden in this debate, that's just, I mean, come on. You're showing your ass at this point, so. Yes, I follow and watch his takes. Big Eagles fan tells that. Oh, does he really? Oh, that's good. So he's not into the clickbait, rage bait, whatever. No, that's good. Which is part of the reason why, no, I'm not going to bring up Stephen A. What do you guys think about this Matt Barnes, Pat Beverly deal? And Pat Beverly's a fool also. He's another one that's clickbait, rage bait. I get it. Athletes, they're going to, I don't understand. I don't know. Oh, you got to go in there, Vic. What is this? You said how much? He even posted a video. You know what? That was AI. I kid when I say that, please. You think I'm going to AI a video from 1990? Mark, get back to me, my G. Difference between Yankees and Met fans. And I'll be objective here. I will. The Met fan is jaded. They're cynical. Yeah, they're the stepbrother in town. And yeah, they don't like the fans or the team. If you ever meet a guy that's a Yankee and Met fan, don't believe him. Don't trust him. I don't care what you say. And this is a true story. You ready for this? June 18th, 1997. I sat in the left field bleachers, the first ever Subway Series regular season, Mets-Yankees, Yankee Stadium. Rick Reed pitched that day. And he went up against David Cone. First inning. I had a guy sitting next to me, said he was a Yankee fan. He was with his son. Kid you not. Talking. I don't mind. I like both teams. But I'm more of a Yankee fan. All right. Okay. First batter was Lance Johnson. Lance Johnson. All right, Lance, let's go. Let's go. This guy's wearing a Yankee hat. Gets the 2 strikes. I may not have been Lance Johnson. It may have been John Olerud, now that I think about it. I think Olerud got to 2 strikes. And what happened? At 2 strikes, he's rooting for David Cone to strike out John Olerud. Wait a minute. If you're rooting for Lance Johnson to start the game as a Met fan, and then you're rooting for David Cone to strike out John Olerud, what are we doing? So, yeah, it's – if I ever meet there's no such thing as a Met Yankee fan. None. I don't care. And even the ones that come out and say, oh, well, I root for the Mets, but if they lose, I root for the Yankees. I root for New York. Nope. Nope. And nope. Never. But that was a true story. That actually happened. But Met fans, they're jaded. They're cynical. They are probably just as rabid, if not more. I'm not going to say that they're better fans than Yankee fans, but because they haven't won in so long and all the pain and the scars that we have on our bodies, to me, I think that they may be a little bit more reasonable, where the Yankee fan, and I don't know about the younger fan. The younger fan, I understand they could piggyback off of their uncles or their dads or whatever, because when they went through their run, I mean, they were insufferable because everything was about World Series or whatever, and especially in the 90s and those teams. But the Yankee fan is starting to get a little bit jaded because of the owner and the GM and even the manager to a certain degree, because they haven't won a World Series now going on 17 years. I understand that's not 40 for the Mets, but the Yankee fan, they come across a lot more pompous than a Met fan. That's not to say they're not pompous Met fans, because they are. But, yeah, it's the fan base. The Yankee fan's like that. The Patriot fan is like that, as we've seen in recent years. Just look at Dave Portnoy. The Cowboy fan, although they haven't won in forever, but the Cowboy fan's obnoxious. So you have those teams, or those the fans of those teams, they're the ones that are they're intolerable. And to answer that, as I scroll up here, that's the difference. You know, Yankee fans are going to pound on the Met fans and vice versa. The Yankee fans, they still haven't gotten over Juan Soto to this day. Even Michael Kay. I mean, please. So. No, I did not say that, but all right, whatever you want to say. A lot of silly takes, play silly games, win silly prizes. Their shows need all the help they could get. Yeah. Unfortunately. Well, fortunately for someone like myself, but Todd Benziger payroll, do his actual dues pay. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but I know you talk about him all the time. Dave Portnoy is great. Who doesn't love pizza? Well, pizza's one thing, but, you know, him coming out, we got 6 rings. Relax. Timeout. First of all, you're not on the team. And that's part of the obnoxiousness. And that's why the Yankees, 27 rings, bro. Nobody cares. Seriously, nobody cares. Have I ever once, Bio could be the one to judge. Have I ever once come out as a lifelong Celtic fan to be like, well, if we don't win this year, that's all right. We got 18 rings. Ha, ha, ha. No one cares. If the Celtics win this year, I'm not going to say, we got 19. I'm just going to be like, we won. 2 years ago when they won, I was ecstatic. I was happy. I was doing podcasts. I wasn't doing live streams at that time. Go back in the archives. Was I? No. But Portnoy is a guy that, he's bluster. And I get it that that's part of his persona, barstool, to be a fool, to be obnoxious, whatever. There was that one clip when they were up 21-0 against Buffalo late in the season. And he was like, oh, look at this. We're killing Buffalo. We're going to win the division. They ended up winning the division as it was. But bragging, chest all out, whatever. And at the end of the game, he had a mea culpa. And this is what happens. He's a fool. I started it. You know why I started it? Because I'm right. End of story. Dave Portnoy. And Barstool, Frank the Tank. And I don't really listen to any of the Barstool stuff either. Anybody listen to Barstool? I don't. But anyway, I guess that'll do it, people. I appreciate you all. You know that. Even Mark, I know you're trying to get under my skin, but come on. Seriously? Vic asked this question, and I've answered this before. I don't gamble. Not big on that. And as you know, I'm big on having a podcast, live stream, etc., that has integrity. And part of that is not having those gambling houses be a sponsor of what it is that I do. Now, listen, is it enticing if somebody were to come out? I'd rather have, and this one is for you, the novice, because I've reached out and they haven't gotten back to me. I don't know. I guess because they look at my profile. And it's weird with the way they have it set up with SeatGeek and with not Vivid Seats, TickPick. I'd rather be sponsored by the ticket houses because obviously you want to go to games, concerts, whatever. Promo code, dig it. And I guess they probably look at me as too small as they never got back to me. But the gambling houses, no, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't. And I know if, let's say for argument's sake, DraftKings says here, JAYREELZ, we'll give you your own promo code. We'll give you 10 grand or whatever. I don't know, 20 grand. Here you go. Would it be enticing? Of course, I'm human. But I wouldn't do it now to the chagrin of my wife because I'm sure she's going to be like, what? You're crazy. You better take that money. I wouldn't do it. I got to stand by that. I got to stand 10 toes, man. For real. So I wouldn't accept it. That's why I love the ticket houses to be, hey, you want to go to the game? You want to do this? JAYREELZ, get 20% off. I haven't had that yet, so we shall see. What else? Mark, I can't believe you wasted time just like trying to, jeez. Yeah, I like that bio. Absolutely. Pat Beverly's a flea. Look at this pinch hitter. Lenny Harris. Yeah, Harris was a Met. Was also a Dodger, too. Lenny Harris. I believe he was a switch hitter also. Infielder. And no, I didn't have to Google that. I know you called me Google Boy also. So look at that. Top of the dome. Not like, oh, who is Lenny Harris? Oh, yeah, I know who Lenny Harris is. Yeah, he played for the Mets, the Cubs. No. Lenny Harris, I know who he is. Yes, and a red too. You're right. Was a red. Admit defeat. Mark, I appreciate you, though. Yeah, Pat Bev. Yeah, I mean, come on. See, what Pat Bev needs, I'll tell you right now, and listen, not that I would ever be a part of his stratosphere. What Pat Bev needs is a guy that could be the buffer on his podcast, meaning that if he had somebody, like, I don't even know who does Shaq have on his, and a lot of these guys, well, I don't want to throw my name in there, but let's just say Pat Bev has his podcast. I sit next to him, and he could interview how he wants to the former players, whatever, and I'll interview how I'd want, meaning that I'll ask the hard question. So, yeah, Pat Bev and, hey, we got KG in the house, blah, 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 so on and so forth. I would ask KG, true or false, about what you said to Carmelo at Madison Square Garden back in 2012, I think it was, or 2011, that you had to meet, or that Carmelo met you in the tunnel at the bottom there, where obviously he was captured on video. I'd ask that question. As I've said a million times, why? Fans want to know. You do these podcasts for the fans, as I've said. But of course not. Would I accept ad for Oh, I would definitely not. Nope. That is a no. And I don't care if that straight-laced, by the book, whatever, I wouldn't. And again, that goes any party. That's just supposed to show you. Wouldn't do it. Good questions, Vic. I like them. But that's what Pat Beverly needs. That's what a lot of these guys need. Even Paul George. I've seen some of his stuff. Oh, my God. It's just like, oh, my guy. Because to me, the whole point of having a podcast, and here I am trying to, like, I'm Mr. Podcast Masterclass 101. And I know it's been a while since I've had a guest. And listen, when you're at the bottom trying to work your way up, and even though reaching out to athletes and all these different people, not knowing who I am, of course it's going to be difficult, but I don't care. I'm going to still keep fighting. But when you have them on, you got to talk about the good, the bad, and even the ugly. And it's not to expose them. It's not to come across like TMZ or anything like that. But, I mean, let's face it. If I had Shaq on my podcast, and I know he's talked about this before, but, yeah, of course I get into the Kobe dynamic and knowing the type of work ethic he had to Shaq, and even to say to Shaq, like, Shaq, knowing that Kobe's called you out on that, and you won 4 titles, and you won 3 in a row, which was phenomenal, and you were the most dominant player in the sport at that time. But, yeah, do you ever think that you could have won 6, 7 NBA championships if you were locked in, focused? And he'd probably say, yeah. But that's what we want to find out as fans. Not the softball, oh, who's the toughest guy you faced, or not the, oh, who's the toughest team, or, oh, what was it like being Kobe's teammate? Come on. I mean, those are layups. I could ask them those questions in my sleep. And listen, I'm not Mr. Walter Cronkite. I'm not Dan Rather. But these are, if you're a sports fan, if you're a kook, these are just, they're obvious. And a lot of those players are not going to ask those questions. They're not. They need a producer turned analyst like Kevin Wildes. Yeah, I mean, that would be definitely. Oh, hold on a second. No, that would definitely be a start there. If you were a millionaire show and asked Regis. And Regis, well, that'd be a hard one, Mark, because I don't know if you know, this just in, Regis Philbin is no longer with us, unless he's still alive and I'm lying and, you know. I love those first few years of interleague play. They were awesome. I love watching. Yeah, you know what? You're right about that. I did too. Yeah, they were fun. Until you got to 2000 when the Mets played the Yankees in the World Series. And then after that, like the Subway Series meant nothing. But yeah, now it's just. But yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And remember, those first few years of interleague play, they obviously not like today where everybody plays everybody. Back then, they just played certain divisions. Because in 97, the Mets played the Yankees. They only played the one series in the Bronx. And they played one series the following year at Shea. And then after that, then they played in both stadiums. But that first year, 97, the Mets played the Tigers, I remember. In Detroit, they got smacked. Bobby Higginson, I remember him. He had 3 home runs. Remember him? Yeah, look him up, Mark Salmons. Shoot, who else the Mets played in 97 in the league? Wait, did they play the AL Central? No, I don't think so. White Sox? Oh, hold on. That is before no, but they were still the same divisions. They were realignment. Did they play? Off the top of my head, geez, I should know this. No, they played different teams that year because in 97, Mets played the Red Sox. Yeah, it was weird how the interleague was that year. I remember the Mets played in Detroit in late. They played in Detroit in late July, if I'm not mistaken. They also played the Red Sox because I remember Nomar hitting a home run at Shea. Yeah, I got to look deeper into that. But yeah, interleague was fun those first few years. I agree with you there, Bio. Yeah. That's what they need. But, you know, they feel like, oh, I'm going to go into the space because of my name and who I am and blah, blah, blah and whatever. And I got my fan base. And, yeah, it's just a joke. Yeah, so. All right, people. Yeah, I'm going to start to head on out here. Wrap this up. So, you know, I'll do my usual closeout. That'll do it, my good people. Another episode in the books. As always, thank you so much for stopping by, carving out precious time out of your day to listen to what it is I have to say about the toy department of Life Called Sports. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube at JAYREELZ. Also on Apple, Spotify. Throw me a few stars, write a review. I greatly appreciate it. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, you can hit me up with the following social media accounts: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, the JAYREELZ Podcast, or on Instagram, just JAYREELZ. Twitter, JAYREELZ1, just a number. Twitch, JAYREELZ1, just a number. And the old-fashioned way to JAYREELZ Podcast at gmail.com. I'll be more then happy to follow up with you guys and gals, because whether you do or do not know, this is what I love to do, talking sports since birth, without any of the filler, without any of the garbage, without any of the clickbait, rage bait nonsense, just true, passionate sports talk made by a lifelong sports fan for you guys and gals, a sports fan. And whether you do or do not know, in the blood and the DNA, talking sports since birth, because as long as I sit in front of this microphone and camera, I promise I will deliver nothing but passion, fire, energy, fury with my thoughts, opinions, critiques, praise, analysis, feelings on anything and everything that happens on the world of the diamond, ice, gridiron, hardwood, golf course, racetrack, tennis court, boxing ring, octagon, you name it. From my lips to your ears, from my heart to your soul, from where I am to wherever you are. The JAYREELZ podcast always comes live, correct, direct, and in full effect. From the South Bronx, the South Beach, the South Central, the South Pacific, and all points beyond. Peace, love, and God bless everybody. Enjoy your weekend. And until next time on the JAYREELZ podcast, on the flip, baby. Now, bio, hang on. Stu Feiner from Barstool. Yeah, I never heard of Stu Feiner. I'll look him up. I'll check him out. Yeah, never heard of Stu Feiner. TV personality. Sports handicapper, media personality, works for Barstool. All right. He's from Brooklyn. I should know this guy, but I don't know him. Crazy. On FAN? Yeah, I don't listen to FAN anymore, though. All right. No, it's good bio. Appreciate that. Yeah, look at this. There you go. You said there's two athletes listening now. Well, if that is true, Mark, who are they? I got it together. I'll give you 60 seconds to answer that. Anyway. Where we're at. Patrick Reed, Tommy Fleetwood, still at the top of the leaderboard. Yeah, JJ Spawn, Brooks Koepka, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Chris Gotterup, Justin Rose, John Rahm, Ludwig Ockberg. They haven't teed off just yet. Cameron Young +4. Wow. Keegan Bradley +4. Bubba Watson +4. Victor Hovland. He's another guy I didn't mention too. Wyndham Clark +1. Zach Johnson, Jason Day. Yeah, we'll get into that. All right. Already spoken of. Start calling you. Whatever. All right, Mark. All right, my people. Going to sign off. As always, thank you so much for the love and support. Maybe I'll pop up at some point over the weekend for a random live stream, so stay tuned for that. Uh-oh. Oh, jeez. Fuqua, you're hilarious. Fuqua, when you want to City Field? We got to hit up a game, man. If you want to contact me, jayreelzpodcast@gmail.com. And you know what? With that comment, we'll close it out. Enjoy, people. On the flip, as you already know, thanks as always for your support. Until next time on the flip.